they're only able to divide us because we let them. Like, we got to realize that. Stop looking for CNN and New York Times telling you what to be enraged by today. And actually read between the lines, open your door, talk to your neighbors, go to the dang cigar bar. Tasting room's our favorite, so make sure you hit that up when you visit Madison or if you're in Madison. And actually talk to people that was the whole context of starting this podcast with this episode, the Leadership in Review, is some of the best conversations, as Jason mentioned, happen in the cigar lounge. Because it's people of all socioeconomic classes. It's people of all races, all religions, all genders. And we're cool with each other because we're bonding over something in common, which all of us have, something in common. We're humans, we're Americans, whatever you want to choose. Choose one.
This is Sparta!
Welcome back to Spartan Leadership. I'm your host, Josh Kosnick, and this is your podcast for leadership, inspiration, and impact. And today we have a Leadership in Review. We're back, baby. We were back in the studio after a couple-week delay. We're going to hit it hard with Leadership in Review. And these podcast episodes, not your typical ones I'm doing with entrepreneurs and spit and fire on leadership. We're still going to talk about leadership, but it's going to be from a different sense. We got political, geopolitical, societal, community, all sorts of stuff we're going to assess today. But my co-host, Jason Smith, entrepreneur extraordinaire.
That's an overstatement.
And Emanuel,
ex-Chippendale dancer.
Is that
also an overstatement?
Greatest man alive.
Thank you.
That one's dead on.
Perfect.
I was going to say, I didn't know that history. Is that on the resume? Chippendale's dancer. I could see it, though. What would be your stage name?
Probably Chocolate Stout. Oh, Lord.
That was before he got fit. Now he's
No, he was talking about his
chocolate.
He was talking about his manhood.
It's chocolate Thin Mint.
All right, Jason got jokes today.
All right, it's Friday. Let's get into it. So recently, earlier this week, Emanuel tried to quit the podcast. He thought he was going to walk out on us because he thought something was edited. But there was no purposeful editing. And for everyone to be clear, on our podcast, we speak our truth. And we don't edit things unless there's some legal thing that Alec figures out. But we got our residential attorney sitting next to us.
I think he was just trying to renegotiate his contract.
What, he took the most expensive cigar in the humidor.
I like the perks already. Alicia took me in the humidor and was like, we're going to make up for our wrongs, pick the best cigar. I went for the, what was this? The
Bahique, the Cohiba Bahique.
Yeah. The real Cuban.
The
not
big
the ones you buy and see.
That's the good stuff.
Yeah.
That's the, that retails for about $400.
I was over in Costa Rica. They had so many clones of these.
They're all fakes.
I was coughing like I had pneumonia or something over there because those cigars were horrible.
I called a guy out on the beach in Aruba on spring break. He didn't like it too much. I was like, don't worry, they're good fakes. You're going to fool almost everyone, just not me. So anyhow.
Should I throw in a little
cigar?
Traveler advisory?
Yeah, traveler.
So if you are walking on a beach and someone's trying to sell you cigars, they claim that they're Cuban cigars. Anytime that you see a package that has a clear top on it, whether it's plastic or glass, it's not real.
That's how everyone was over there.
Right. And those are not Cuban cigars.
Right.
I mean, unless somebody took them.
And here's the story they'll tell you, and it's almost repeated every time. Well, I was like, hey, well, how do you procure them? And he's like, my uncle flies to Cuba and I've heard that story numerous times. You just know they're not real.
Yep.
Too good to be true at the price that they're selling.
I'll tell you another one too, because I don't want to get too sidetracked, but my favorite Cuban cigar is the Monte Cristo number 2. And if you look at, there's that little, the floor, symbol, like the New Orleans Saints style symbol. It's embossed and raised on a real Cuban cigar band. But if it's just flat, you can feel the band. If it's just flat, also fake.
Yeah.
So, all right. Now I'm done with my traveler advisory section.
Some of those bands, they've gotten really, especially on the Cohibas, they've gotten really good at it. It's hard to tell. unless you got a keen eye. But so he thought we were censoring him, but that wasn't the case. But let's talk about censorship.
Right.
Because it's happening everywhere, whether it's social media, TV.
Except for CNN. They call them.
They're so honest.
They're calling balls and strikes over there.
Yeah. Sarcasm.
You can edit
everybody.
that comment.
Sarcasm, everybody. CNN's, if not the worst, top 3 for sure. And that's why they've lost so much viewership, because they've lost so much trust in the public of being caught in lies. That being said, what is free speech in this world today?
I feel like free speech is being suppressed all around the board, even from those who I really thought would never, ever turn his back on America, especially like Donald Trump. I'm really disappointed in Donald Trump. Some of the stuff he's done, like as far as getting rid of student visas if you preach out against Israel, making a law. And this is not a bash against my brothers in Israel. I just don't want to be the guy that ever have to hold my tongue for any group. You know, I will go in just like a heterosexual white guy. If he talks about anything black, you can lose your job. People call you a racist and not even know you or your moral character. I just think that is so wrong.
Weren't there were a few years back, right, where simply stating that all lives matter was enough to get you fired.
And I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to be a part of that. I do not support a Donald Trump who, if someone's speaking on a campus and if it's the wrong subject, you get your visa taken. You know, making a law for a certain country's flag. If you burn this country's flag, you get arrested, and then double down and say, okay, I'm making it too obvious. Now I'm going to put in a law if you burn an American flag. Donald Trump, shame on you. I don't give a fuck if you burn a Ku Klux Klan flag, a Black Lives Matter flag. You can burn any goddamn flag you want. That's your prerogative. I don't care.
As long as you buy the flag, you are allowed to burn.
Exactly, long as you buy the flag. So some of the things that's taking place with him right now, and like I said, when we touched on the Israel thing last couple of weeks ago, I'm just evolving. I'm learning how much power AIPAC had. I didn't know. I was oblivious to this stuff months ago. But the more I learn, I'm going to always be on the right side. I don't care whose feelings get hurt or who feels a way about something. To me, cleansing my soul is the truth. The truth doesn't hurt me. The truth sets me free. So all of this stuff about what's going on in Chicago, you know, men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. And the more they try to cover up death tolls in Chicago, it's going to all come out. And you see what's happening. You go to D.C., you got black people mad that because there's no murders in D.C. and Donald Trump looks good. So they'd rather 900 black men to get killed and have Donald Trump look bad on that behalf. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it is just crazy. Like my buddy Jason sent me something and it read, 70 people killed at the border. And every liberal or Democrat, it will pull at their heartstrings. And then at the end of that text, it says, oh, my bad, that was Chicago. And it shows their hypocrisy.
And then no one cares.
They don't care. They don't care. They're fighting against this. So this proves why this is probably the best podcast on the internet, because we can talk about stuff like this, you know, and we can bring it to light that we don't muzzle any dogs around here. You know, we can roof to the moon if we want to, but that's the beauty of this podcast. So,
well, it really ought to be the beauty of any podcast. Or any news station. If we have free expression and freedom of speech, you know, we either have it or you don't. And if you start drawing lines over this type of speech is okay and this type isn't, I mean, even the concept that there's hate speech and that hateful speech should just be banned or it should be illegal. Well, the irony of that, it's an unworkable proposition, because at the end of the day, the only real purpose of having a First Amendment is to protect the speech that other people don't like.
Yeah.
Because if all you do is allow speech that everybody likes, that's not free speech.
Yeah, and he was the arbitrator of hate speech.
Of course, right? There's no such thing. And people talk about it all the time, but from a legal perspective, there is no such thing as hate speech.
That's what
it's just something that people talk about.
Track when they defended the Klan, but then they've become political and now they are about suppressing free speech, you know, and that's the crazy part. I mean, we can get into what is the CDC hypocrisy and all of that stuff. Everything is just, it's bought out now. And I'm realizing when you go pull a lever to vote in America, you're not voting in an American president. I hate to say this. I'm really realizing our government, every congressperson, every president has to go kiss the wall of another country. I think that's ludicrous. That is just crazy to me. If I ask both of you guys to put in money for a GoFundMe for Bill Gates' kids to go to college, you say, are you fucking nuts? His kids are loaded. So we take care of a country that's way wealthier than us. I'm an American first guy. I don't care whose feelings it hurt. I'm an American first guy. I don't want AIPAC in none of our business over here. I don't want Israel running America. And I see it clear as day. They run Donald Trump. Donald Trump is beholden to them. All of this Epstein stuff, I could be wrong. I'm thinking it's going to lead something back to Mossad. And both presidents, Biden and Trump, I'm just so disappointed in Trump. You can just tell someone's got something on him. I used to be the biggest Trump lover ever, used to be the biggest fan ever. But when he started stripping people visas because you're protesting a war, and I mean, we can get my best friend.
I would say this though: don't fall into the trap of not being a fan of the person. If there's policies that you don't like, you can dislike the two policies that you just described there, but still appreciate all of the other things that someone's doing.
I can see a policy, but then there's principles too. There's certain policies, there's certain policies when it comes to war and stuff like that. Those are things I'm not willing to compromise on, you know? And once you know the truth behind some of these wars, see, when you live a lie, that's when you pull a fast one on the whole wide world. Just like how trans people are trying to legitimize certain things and want certain rights because I want them and it doesn't make sense. I don't know if I'm making sense about this, but a man can't be a woman, you know? And I get into this all the time, and it hurts. Sometimes, you know, when the truth hurts you, you need to look in the mirror, you know? A man cannot be a woman. You cannot be born.
Well, there's chromosomes.
Yeah, you can't be born an ethnicity. And the more and more we play this game, you know, you can practice.
You say I can't identify as black?
You can identify. You can't be, you're not born black. But you cannot play this game and continue to say, okay, I will grant you this because a book says this group of people are from over here. But you cannot make this make sense to me.
There's two problems there, right? On the trans, I would say, especially with children, right, in the trans movement. One is you have this biology issue, and then the other one is, you know, is it appropriate to carve out special rights? Or should we just give everybody the same rights? I mean, I thought we gave everyone the same rights in America. And there's a whole bunch of arguments about, you know, socioeconomic lack of opportunity. That's a whole nother discussion. But on the trans one, I had this discussion the other day with a friend of mine, and I said, you know, I think with the kids that are coming in with some mental health issues or, you know, trying to figure out who they are and they're young, to me, when they're saying, okay, we're going to put you on puberty blockers or cut your genitals off, to me, it's the equivalent of saying, if you had, let's say, a young girl who's anorexic and she'll say she's 70 pounds and she's, you know, maybe almost dying. She goes into her counselor and she says, you know, I'm fat. I know I'm fat. I look at myself, I'm fat. I feel fat. That's just who I am. And the doctor, instead of treating her for anorexia, says, you know what, sweetheart? You're right. Yeah. Here's some diet pills. Go take these. I feel like that's what we're doing.
Yeah, that is. I want to go back to one thing on the flag burning situation that you have a little bit off. The law that was passed, or was it an order signed on the flag burning? Executive order. Okay, so what that did was it's not, you could go burn a American flag right now. And if you did it in isolation or in front of people and it was your flag that was purchased, nothing's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
However, if you do it in conjunction with breaking another law, it just amplified your sentence.
Yeah, it does have to. I think we talked about it a little bit.
So you say if you're burning someone else's flag?
No. The American flag.
You have to commit a crime, is what he's saying.
Yeah, you have to commit a crime.
But I think that's wrong too.
No, I don't. No. I don't think so. Because if you're doing it because what it's targeting is inciting more, like say like the BLM riots or the anti-Israel riots or whatever it may be, and you're burning an American flag and there's other hubbub and commotion going on, throwing bricks through windows, starting fires, stuff of that nature.
There's laws for that.
It's enhancing that because it's inciting. Because think about what happens if, let's say, Jason or I, or you even for that matter, are around and we see that happen. What's our natural reaction?
I'd probably be pissed.
Would you not throw hands? Would you not at least push that person away? Would you not try to, that's what it's going to do. So let's say you wouldn't.
That line because
but you've been to prison and you've known. So, okay. But think about a red-blooded patriot American sees that happen. What's likely to happen?
But at the same time, you don't have a right, no matter how red-blooded you are, to put your hands on someone else because of an act that they're doing that's not cause and effect to you. If someone's burning a flag, I don't care about your arrogance.
That's not cause and effect to someone that served our country and saw his friends die?
And listen, I get that. But that's almost like telling a black person, if a white person call you a nigger, because we had pain and joy. No, I know I don't have a right to put my hands on nobody. You can call me the N-word. Just don't put your hands on me. But you gotta, that spoiledness of Americans. You don't have a right to do something because get out your fucking feelings. Just because you feel some type of way, you have to understand. You don't call the cops. You don't have a right to put your hands on no one. I don't care how patriotic you was or how much time you served in Vietnam. That's that arrogance. Well, certain time I got a right to go slap you because you did something I don't like. No, I don't care about that. You don't have a right to do that. So bottom line.
So what will happen is anytime you're passing a law like this or you're trying to create more of a disincentive or a deterrent against a certain action. But I 100% agree with you. If you are just expressing yourself, whether you write some antagonizing bullshit sign or scream out inappropriate things, no one else ever has the right to hit you for it.
They don't.
However, it will be taken into consideration on sentencing. I mean, that's kind of the practical effect.
Arrogance too.
But whether you're right or wrong on doing it, I agree with what you're saying, Emanuel. You cannot. It's the old adage of sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Yeah, well,
I believe in that.
But that's built in or baked into the criminal code.
We're just giving trophies to everybody.
Correct, but my point was saying that it wasn't passed in the way that you thought it was passed.
I can agree with that.
So it wasn't like an attack on free speech in that regard.
I feel that, but I just think
that's an important distinction, though, because that really was addressing you have to have committed some type of criminal act in order for that order to apply.
But it's almost like adding on to a hate crime when it comes to murder. Fucking murder is murder.
Right.
Yeah, but
motives count, right? There's self-defense. There's defense of others. You could be in a fight. You could not intend it.
You're talking about murder, but I'm talking about when you intentionally murder someone and they say, well, we're going to charge you with a hate crime. No, you should be doing 100 years anyway.
It's either intentional murder or it's not.
Exactly.
Okay. Again, I agree with that.
What color you are,
I don't like
all of that hate crime stuff, all of those tack-ons to hate crimes. You should be charging people according to the crime.
According to their conduct, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Because, and I would agree, and I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of the philosophical appropriateness of, getting inside someone's mind, but that is kind of what the government is trying to do, is they're saying, if you intended this action, but we're thinking this and not that, then we're going to charge you with more or what. I'm not a fan of that. I mean, I understand you're trying to create a deterrent to stop people from doing it and maybe reduce the amount of civil disorder. But at the end of the day, from a principle standpoint, which is what you're talking about, if the state starts, they had two identical conduct, but one person thinks this, another person thinks that, why should one person get punished more severely when the conduct's the same? That's what you're saying.
Right.
I agree with you.
It's all of those cute laws like anti-lynching and anti-this. Man, if I'm dead, I'm dead. I'm not going to get any type of bonus if they give this guy more time for lynching. I want him to get the same amount of time. If he lynched me, shot me, stabbed me, if he killed me, I want you to get the same amount of time.
But remember, anytime they pass criminal law, it's not just about punishment. It's also about deterrent of future crimes. And that's what they're trying to do is deter a certain class of people from committing more crime or more civil disorder.
And then you deter. And then you encourage another group of people.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah. Right. That's one consequence.
If this guy lynched you and you're dead, But this young thug can shoot you and get out in 10 years. It's a bunch of crap. It is just, it's crazy as hell to me. And the numbers are just...
Are you trying to say that there might be some problems with the criminal justice system?
That's a lot of problems. Chicago got the toughest gun laws, and they had 70 shootings in a weekend.
More sarcasm.
Yeah, no, we got it. Hopefully everyone got that. But let's talk about that because there was a shooting recently in Minnesota, another school shooting.
Yeah.
And it was a Catholic school, another Christian school attacked, and another common thread of transgender man pretending to be woman as the attacker. And so those are the common threads. And of course, you got the liberal pundits immediately that day, immediately after it happened, calling for guns, making up facts, saying that it was a Trump shooter, MAGA shooter, anti-Israel shooter. And they would show the pictures of the magazines, except for the magazines that showed the anti-Trump slogans, kill Trump, stuff of that nature. They tried to cover it up. So it's interesting because all those photos and manifesto became public very quickly, which is ironic because we still don't know much on the person that actually shot Trump, still 13 months later. But we knew everything about this person within a matter of 48 hours. Robert, a.k.a. Robin Westman. And here's the thing for me. It's anytime there's children involved, my heart breaks as a father. So parents around the country, your heart, I know, feels like my heart. And it's sad. And to see it politicized immediately.
Yeah.
And then for the mayor of Minneapolis to say this isn't a time for thoughts and prayers to a bunch of Christian believing parents.
Whose kids died while praying.
Two kids died while praying is completely insensitive, completely just disgusting, honestly.
He's out of touch with 80% of the country, right? I mean, that's kind of what that group is doing politically right now. They're isolating themselves.
And they're completely isolating themselves. But you still have, I have a lot of parents or friends on, Facebook that are calling for guns or stricter gun laws. But here's the deal, guys. And I can't make this any simpler. Chicago has the toughest gun laws in the country and the most shootings.
And New York's right behind.
Minnesota, even though it's a big hunting state, has the 14th toughest gun laws in the country. Most people don't know that stat. It is a red flag state. Most people don't know that. So let me make this as simple as possible. Shooting people is a crime. You cannot, it's already a criminal act. Banning laws from people that or banning guns or making laws for laws that already exist doesn't stop criminals from doing criminal activity. Most of the guns in Chicago, most of the shootings are not legally bought firearms. The one in Minnesota, yes, that happened to be a legally bought firearm. So you just can't make this any simpler. It's there's already laws in place from shooting human beings.
Right.
So I just don't understand the argument when we go to say we need to ban guns.
Well, I guess, once we're done banning guns, we could tackle childhood obesity by banning forks and spoons.
Yeah, that's right. The spoon made me fat, Jason.
No, I think also people have to look within themselves to speak up. A lot of people see the writing on the wall and they stand by until it's too late. A lot of people know when people have mental issues and, God rest his soul, my buddy Doug used to work one of my mechanics, and I knew he was very, very vindictive. And if he was to ever say, "Hey, E-Man, you know where I can get a gun?" I knew I would have to go turn him in. And I love this guy dearly, but I knew what type of guy he was. If you dented his car, he'll come back, and it was a great guy, but I knew his moral character. If you dented his car, he'd come flatten all your tires and cut your brake line. I knew he was that type of guy. He wanted his get back. And I mean, this is a true story. So I knew if he was to ever ask me for a gun, I would have went to Kaiser Ford and I would have been like, listen, guys, I would have went and got the cops because I know what type of guy Doug was. I love this guy, one of my best friends ever. But I just knew he wasn't wound too tight. He was very, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but he was fightful, very vengeful.
Yeah.
And if a girl left him, he thought I could cut her brakes and let her drive off a bridge. He was that type of guy. So one day, it's one of the saddest days of my life. I was riding the car and I was like, hey, I called him. I said, Dougie, I need you to do something for my car tomorrow. He's like, man, it's like 10 o'clock. I said, what are you doing? He's like, I'm just out riding. I'm like, it's like 10 o'clock. What are you riding so late for? And he was like, just sell that damn car. It was a Volvo I had. And I was like, it was weird. And he was like, I love you. And I said, I love you too, Dougie. And the next morning they found him at Kaiser Ford in the parking lot with the car on.
Wow.
Yeah. But I knew what type of guy he was. And a lot of people know some of these people are not wound tight. And you watch this person get an AK-47 and you're letting the kids down because you should stand up and tell somebody, hey, there's red flags on that person. Right. You know who's not wound tight.
Well, I would say, number one, like when I kind of made the joke about the analogy, right, with the anorexic, I mean, some of these kids they're young. They're still figuring out who they are. They, maybe they're dealing with, some are more masculine, some are more feminine. I mean, you have masculine, feminine men, you have masculine, feminine women. They're all just trying to figure out who they are. Mm-hmm. But I really also think we ought to be taking a serious look at all these drugs we're pumping in these kids.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you already have all the hormones of a teenager, and then you put, all the synthetic hormones.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a recipe for
So
disease.
antidepressants and anxiety medicines, nearly all of them come with a warning that they have suicidal or homicidal ideations. All of them. Well, I'm not going to say all. I'm going to say most. I'm going to give myself a little margin for any legal scholars out there. But almost all of them have that warning. And so you combine that, right, with someone that's not necessarily wanting, whether they're mentally ill diagnosed or not, you combine that with the hormones that are, teenagers, young 20s are facing, and then you pump them with these.
Yeah.
And yes, there has to be some sort of look at that. But again, the society wants to look at the symptom, the spoon, the fork, the gun, instead of the actual root cause. When I'm working with business owners and we're in a leadership meeting and we're trying to solve an issue, I will literally ask the question, guys, are we discussing the symptom or have we found the root cause yet? Because if we're discussing the symptoms and trying to solve a symptom, we don't solve the root cause, it doesn't go away, it comes back up. And so this is the same thing with this topic, is everyone wants to discuss the symptom, which is the guns. The root cause is something much deeper. It takes a mentally depraved person to go, I'm going to go shoot some kids today.
Right.
No matter what political statement, it doesn't matter what the notebook and the journal said, him meeting with the devil, him writing all this crazy shit. You're saying there wasn't signs to anyone in your family, any of your friends, there weren't signs?
Yeah.
Well, this person's writing all this down, that's bullshit.
Well, I got to wonder, I mean, I'm a fan of RFK Jr., so I'll just throw that out there. And, I think he's the guy or, one of the guys that can start to take a serious look at this, in terms of what these drugs are doing or not doing to kids. Because I think you could find other countries that have a large amount of firearms in them and virtually no school shootings. And then take a look at what level of hormone block.
You don't have to look at other countries. You look at us in the 60s and 70s.
Well, that's true too. Yeah. I mean, it's not.
You look at Texas in the 60s, like literally everyone's open carrying.
Yeah.
You look at my parents' high school in Illinois, in the country, that you could ride up into the parking lot with a shotgun in your back window of your truck.
Actually, we used to do that when I was in high school.
So you don't have to look far. It's in our history. What you have to look at is how have we lost human life value, the value of human life. Where are we going wrong politically with these Democrats out here calling for Trump to die? Calling for Republicans to die, telling white men they're the worst thing on the planet. And that's the other thing is, you think about this and what's driving some of the transgender or potentially white men wanting to transition because every human being on the planet is searching for acceptance. Doesn't matter who you are. You want to be accepted. You want to be part of the group or part of a group at the very least. And you're telling these, and it's all these 8 of 9 last school shootings were white men transitioning to women, or say identifying as women. And it's not black, it's not Latino that I remember anyhow. It's not any other race. It's white. Well, who's being called the dada? White straight men. But so if you're telling teenage boys, teenage boys that, or you're telling a 3-year-old white kid that they're racist, you're telling a 3-year-old black kid that they're oppressed and will play a victim the rest of their life, and then you grow up into your teenage years thinking that you're, as a white man, that you're racist and you don't belong and you're the devil and all this stuff. And while you're trying to figure your own shit out.
Right.
Like,
yeah, you're seeking your own identity and acceptance.
So then they're like, oh, well, let's say they're more on the feminine side, and they're like, okay, well, maybe I'm a female and maybe these people will accept me. And you're still trying to figure all this out. And then you get pumped full of these meds that cause suicidal and homicidal tendencies. Like, there's a root there, guys. I'm not saying that is the absolute root and there's no other roots, but there is a root right there.
Well, I was just looking at some data last week, and it was historical percentages of LBGT. I mean, I'll get the letters wrong, but let's just say gay and lesbian. The percentage of society that identifies as gay and lesbian has essentially been the same as around somewhere between 5 and 7% for almost 100 years. And it was for like a psychology study. What has been different in the last 20 years is the level of transgender identifying individuals has increased 5-fold. It has to be socially constructed, because the rapid increase and the amount of time that we're talking about it, and it's pumped into, in school systems, that transgender identity has a 5-fold increase in 20 years, but every other, gay and lesbian identity has remained essentially the same percentage, which that to me says that's biological. But this transgender, sort of movement lately, I think has a lot more to do with the social aspect than it does biology.
A lot of stuff is manufactured.
But that's my opinion.
No, you're not.
A lot of my stuff is manufactured. I mean, everything we go through right now is dog eat dog. If you look at society right now, you got the black leaders who love they're out of a job if they show blacks a different light. Black leaders in the cities are saying, the biggest fear we have is white supremacy. Well, I guarantee you, nobody in Chicago was shot by a white supremacist, And then you flip it over to women. Women, we are feminists, but we want transgenders in our sports. We want to share our spot with other fake women. And then you look at the Tim Walls of the world telling a straight heterosexual white man, you are no good. You are oppressors. You should stand down. Masculinity is a crime. And it's white people who are making other white people feel bad to ever even tell the truth. They will march in front of your stores. They will say you're the biggest racist. And it's dog eat dog, and all of this stuff is manufactured.
The thing the common theme, and I do respect you for this, is that you really do point out in it, whatever the topic is, when there's hypocrisy in the principles of people, it really chaps your ass.
Yeah.
And you call it out. And I like that.
Well, check this out. You think about all of that that you just said is, I've been white my whole life. Believe it or not. Yeah, believe it or not. I've never been approached by a white supremacy group.
I've never seen one.
I have you been approached by a white supremacy group?
I'm not allowed to talk about it. I'm kidding.
But
no, I have not.
Not only have I never seen one, I've never been approached by one. So that's sort of just like, I'm not saying that racism
we're
doesn't
also
exist.
in the northern part of the United States.
But the KKK was invented or whatever in Indiana.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So we're not far from it.
Party in Wisconsin.
Yeah. So all I'm saying is, I'm not saying that racism doesn't exist. I'm not saying that you haven't experienced racism. Like, what I'm saying is, if white supremacy is such a big deal, and these white supremacist groups are such a big deal. I've been white for 45 years and never even seen one, never been invited to a Klan rally, never been invited to a closed door meeting. I'm a pretty exposed gentleman. Like, I've seen a lot, I've done a lot. I've never seen that happen.
If you took a poll from all the black people in the hood and you asked them where have they ran into a white supremacist, if they told the truth, 99% would say, I never seen that. We get killed by our own kind.
Right. I mean, you can always run into, a racist asshole.
Yeah.
But that's different from an organized, structured group who's assembling to try to take down another race. I mean,
and I'm
that's
really thinking that
than
the left is manufacturing these white supremacist group, these guys in the khakis, and they put the ski mask on, and they run through D.C. for 5 minutes, and then they just disperse into a U-Haul.
They go pick up their FBI paycheck.
I was just going to say, you mean the FBI?
I'm like, what's the use of it? And it's always when the numbers are starting to get really bad for white supremacists, and you don't hear about them. Here the khaki boys come, they run around the Capitol, but I just smudging the numbers, man. And that's what America has become. It's all about brainwashing and smudging the numbers. And I go for Republicans, Democrats, and the CDC. When you smudge when you're telling people we're not counting murders, we're counting them as violent crimes now. That's a problem. You're never going to get to a solution when you sweep things under a rug. Could you imagine your kid going to school and someone saying, your kid been bullying all day, but you don't want the bully numbers to go up? And they're like, oh, little Tommy, he was great today. He was great. You gave him a 5-star today. The CDC. Chronic disease was what, at 7% about 30, 60 years ago? Now it's at 70%. The CDC hasn't been doing their job. Things are getting worse and worse and worse.
The left has, gotten and retained power by, playing the victim card and
both sides do it.
But less when they're in power, right? They have to lie about the amount of crimes because they're in charge. But then when they're not in power, then it's all about, oh my God, look at all these terrible cities and how bad the economy is, even though they're trying to, sabotage it.
But it's both sides too.
It is.
The rhinos are just as bad.
Because, listen, a good liar needs a good truth teller. For the right to be so irresponsible to let them get away with this for years and years and let the CDC post these fucking numbers because you're getting money from Big Pharma and the right is getting money from other places. No, if someone's smudging some goddamn numbers, I'm going to go to my people and tell the exact numbers. You're not going to be able to get on TV and lie. I'm going to be like, you dumbed that down to a reckless driving when that was a homicide. I'm counterpunching.
Well, like on the vaccines, for instance, right? RFK just got grilled by, Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, who are the number 1 and number 3 largest recipients of big pharma money.
He tried to say that too. But he did. He's the wrong messenger, though, Jason.
Well,
you need a guy very articulate when you're dealing with that type of word storm, and you just look bad no matter how smart he is or the guy that was doing the financial stuff. But when you're sitting there like,
he didn't like that yesterday.
You don't know what you're talking about. That's not good.
I understand that, for the sound bite, it's not always working. But he did get the points out, and he is going to, actually put together and only he got rid of people. He had the lady resign from the public health position because she basically was not willing to share the real numbers about vaccine injuries. But that's what you're saying. But that's a truth teller, right? I'd rather have somebody in charge, even if he doesn't get the flashy sound bites, that's going to do the work. Get the policy out there, call people out about, the vaccine injuries.
Translator, man, because he looks horrible. Well, that'd be like being in court and they're like, Mr. Whitfield, did you rob the Popeyes? I'd be like, no, I was at Josh's house smoking cigars. Then you get another guy, well, I don't know. I might have been over. And you can't, it's the delivery.
It's similar to what happened. They solved that problem on the immigration issue when Donald Trump is not good at talking about immigration. So then they brought in Stephen Miller. And that guy is just a genius.
Yeah.
Guy that was doing the financial stuff. He's always.
Bessent? I think Bessent does a nice job. Have you seen some guys?
Really one of them.
Have you seen some of his recent interviews? They've been really good. I'll send you some.
Well, let's go back on topic though, real quick, because I actually want to talk about what you brought up is the division. Right, that's what the right and the left have been so brilliant at, because they know that it just goes back to the Bug's Life movie. We're the ants, they're the grasshoppers.
Yeah.
And if they keep us divided and not realize that we're the power, they retain all the power. So that's their whole game. But they're also trying to strip any American identity from us at the same time.
Yeah.
They're trying to beat down Americanism. They really hate America first, right? I think the ACLU is trying to like make that as like hate speech right now. But to even say America first, or at least some of these Democratic governors are. But my point in saying this is I read something super interesting. So you guys know Europe's like 20 years at least ahead of us on some of this stuff. The bad stuff. The socialism, all that. No.
They're losing, bro.
So they're losing horribly.
They're further down the drain.
They're further down the drain, right? And so here, I want to point out a shocking stat to you guys. So this is why I think Biden allowed all the illegal immigration, is to make us more like Europe real quickly. So this stat is just shocking. So in order to sustain a growing society, you need a birth rate of 2.1. This study was done 15 years ago. Europe's, let's say whether it's Italy, UK, you pick the country, their traditional family is down to 1.3. But the Muslim immigrants, guess what their number is?
Probably 3, sir.
8.1.
Wow.
They're trying to bring Sharia law
So
over
they're
there.
trying to, not only that, but they're doing it through breeding them out. And then when you let illegals in that are criminals, what are they doing? Well, they just came out with a report that back in the year 2000, rapes were I don't know. Anyhow, it was like 35 times more. I can't remember the stat. I probably have a say.
I've read something like that.
It was 35 times more in 25 years.
Yeah.
35 times more rape instances than just 25 years ago because of the immigration that they've had over there. So
and
now,
if you post that statistic in London, they'll show up at your door
and get arrested for it. Now, parlay that to here. We just had 20 million people come through our country unvetted. Put the two together. Like, they're trying to not only demoralize us as a country, they're not only trying to get Democratic votes, like we know all that, but it's also to create civil unrest so that you create the problem and then you present yourself as the only solution to that problem.
And I think it's important to note that this has nothing to do with the race of people coming in. It only has to do with the culture of people coming in.
It's the culture. Like, you have to have a culture.
But the left wants to make it, well, if you're concerned about this, Josh, you must be racist because of these brown and black people.
Don't care.
It's either American values or not.
You have to come, and that's the thing. If we're going to have any sort of culture of our own, which, by the way, we're allowed to have.
Right.
Just like Italy has a culture when you go to visit, just like Japan has a culture.
Government, if it's not going to protect its citizens and have an identity and a culture and a system.
And when you let in, the majority of those weren't families. If you look at the statistics, the majority of those people were military-aged men from Muslim countries.
Right. But if I don't care how many Muslim men or African, whatever, if you come over here with American, even without, you're just American values, supporting America, say, I want to be a part of this, let's go. Come on in.
Try going to China and say, no, we're going to live by American values. See what happens.
Go to a Muslim country and try to say, I want all of these girls to take their jihadis and all of this other shit off, and they be pissed off. But I don't want to live in the Middle East. I don't want to live in Mexico. I don't want to live. So you could come over here, just don't push your shit on me. Don't come telling me Sharia law and what I could say about the Quran and other shit like that.
That's the idea of living somewhere, right? You're supposed to go there to adopt a culture.
The UK is getting it so bad that they're just outnumbering the British people that they're telling them, you need to be under our law. Are you kidding me? Minnesota.
Right. And bring that back to the shooting and wanting to take guns away from us. The UK has no guns. Mm-hmm. They have no rights as far as free speech. So they don't have the First Amendment. They don't have the Second Amendment. And now it's going to be infinitely harder for them to get any sort of British culture or normalcy back to their country. They're gone. They're done for.
I just saw
they're going to have a complete revolution.
They didn't even want over there to be able to hang the flag up, the British flag up. I'm like, nah, that's just crazy. They don't even want them to be able to, like in public, they don't want them to be able to hang their own country.
No, there was a guy.
Really more of an invasion at that point than it is really immigration, right? I mean, because you've...
Well, that's what ours was for the last 4 years. There was an invasion.
But I mean, you could have a lot of people come into the United States, and let's assume for the thought experiment, they're all pro-American values, right? And then it's really a matter of how do we process them and how do we...
That's great. That's how my sister-in-law came to this country.
That's how... That's what we did when everybody goes back. Well, this is like Ellis Island. I'm like, but it's not if you come here and you're not adopting the culture.
And you're not vetted like Ellis Island was vetted.
Yeah.
Like you had to sign in.
Yeah, there's still volumes of books of every person.
Where you came from. I'm sure they took even health records. Did you have any contagious diseases?
Right. Like, you carrying smallpox, you get quarantined. But they tried to talk about the number of measles cases rising in the last couple of years, not understanding that opening the borders to tens of millions of people
from Central America.
Yeah, and that's why
from West Africa.
This was the craziest.
But then I blame it all on RFK and Trump.
Our government mandated us to get vaccines and open the borders to tens of millions of people and didn't mandate them. That's wild to me.
Here we go. The hypocrisy principles again.
Don't you speak truth like that.
That's so wild to me, man.
And liberals didn't say a peep.
A word.
Didn't make a peep about it. Instead, they're fighting for them, saying that no human is illegal, no human's an alien. But you wanted us to wear a mask, but you wanted to force us to take a jab, but not them.
If you say it enough, people will believe it. Like, I try to come fair. I'm not pro-vaccine, anti-vaccine. If a vaccine works, I'll give it to my children.
I'm pro-individual decisions.
I will take a vaccine. But deep in their minds, they know, listen, if I take a mumps or a measles vaccine and it says I can't catch it anymore, I can go in a room with 900 people and shake hands. I can't get it anymore. I'm vaccinated, So if you have a vaccine that's bulletproof, but it's almost like religion. You can kick it down. You can kick the can down the road. So they say the COVID vaccine works, right? Well, if it works, shit, you can't give me COVID. I don't give a fuck if you get a vaccine or not. You can play with your life if you want. I'm protected over here. But people with these boosters, if a vaccine works, why do you need a booster for one unless it wears off? I can understand that. But if a COVID vaccine works, you give one of these doctors or the people from the CDC and they're not taking it. If you give them the COVID shot and they say, okay, we're going to send you over to this hospital ward where everyone's sick with COVID, they'll be like, I don't want to go in there. You're vaccinated. You can't catch it. They don't believe in that. Well, all the people who got vaccinated got COVID way more times than I did.
I'll tell you the other telling fact. Congress exempted themselves from the vaccine requirements during COVID. That pretty much says it.
If it really worked, they should have been leading the charge to get vaccinated.
Not exempting themselves.
Yeah. Isn't that something?
Oh, they all went on TV and got saline shots, though.
Mm-hmm. And that's both sides playing with us America.
Yep. The ants and the grasshoppers, right? I mean, if you get people fighting, I mean, the intelligence communities, right? They've proven this. They've researched that Operation Mockingbird, where you keep saying these big lies over and over and over again. I think the strategy they call it nudging. So to bring people to, accept violence over time, right? Where like that side's bad or kill Trump. I mean, they normalize outrageous behaviors, but they do it over a long period of time from a lot of different angles, and it's called nudging. And then people start to accept it as normal. And actually, Tulsi Gabbard actually just found that some of that was still going on even this year, and she kind of shut down.
It's the Jim Jones effect. It goes on. I mean, just look at the black community. Every fucking day, someone's telling you you're a victim and the white man's killing you.
Right, or the police officers.
And right in front of your fucking own eyes, you see what's happening in Chicago. I don't have a lot of money, but I'm willing to bet all the money in my pocket, all of those people that were shot in Chicago over the weekend were black and shot by other black people. I can pretty much put my wagers on that. And no one will say that. There's not one goddamn Klansman or white supremacist doing this in all of these major cities. And then you get the people who live in these cush houses, the Scarboroughs of the world. But what about red states and stuff like that? Motherfucker, you live in a gated community. You probably never been in the hood, never probably been around any black or any minority people. And then you talk about these red states that are led by Democratic mayors. And it ain't even about Democratic or Republican anymore. It's about black on black crime. Let's get to the bottom of it. But the more and more they sweep it under the rug, the higher that pile of a mess is going to grow.
Well, and they don't want to know the truth. I don't know if we talked about this before, but there's a black economist from Harvard that back just after the George Floyd death. This black economist, he basically gathered a lot of FBI statistics, crime statistics from around the states, and what he did was he took a look at how many, like, what's the rate of unarmed black men being killed by police versus unarmed white men. It's actually twice as likely police, even per capita, when you're twice as likely as an unarmed white man to be killed by police officers than a black man. He went to publish the paper at Harvard. They fired him. Well, they didn't fire him, but they basically demoted him because he moved forward. He goes, I set out to prove that black people were being killed at a higher rate. The data shows they are not. And he goes, I just tried to do what was right. And I'm forgetting his name, but he's done some interviews, and you can look him up. Yeah. But it's fascinating, right? He basically got shamed for telling the truth.
That's what everyone who tells the truth is. I mean, it's at a point.
What happened during COVID when the doctors were trying to tell the truth.
Yeah, they'd get fired. Some got arrested. I mean,
military people got laid off. And I mean, this is what everything is built upon, lies, and just they're doing a great job. I mean, I literally watch white liberals build a statue of George Floyd, crackhead, stick-up man, rapist, all in one, and they build a statue of him. Right. But they will never, ever think about Thomas Sowell. They will never build a statue of a great black man. Look at all of these mainstream media.
Yeah, they don't even allow some of his books in public schools.
Exactly.
I mean, he's an economist.
He's absolutely brilliant.
Right. Yeah, but
just because he doesn't think left.
They don't want a young black man to look up to him. Or you got Reverend Al Sharpton on MSNBC, crack dealer, race hustler, all of these people that are not good for your community or whatever society. They idolize these people, you know, and they do a great job. You know, they don't talk about no kids being able to read. And I live in this community. I see black kids just go down, down, down. And then, like I always say, thank God for the body camera. I've seen my people get so authoritative over the cops. Go get your supervisor. I'm not going to give you. This is taught. Liberals are, yeah, get it, girl. Get it, girl.
Right. And it just increases the likelihood of a bad outcome.
It's almost at the point where I'm like, I don't know how anybody would be a cop nowadays.
So you as a black man that's come from the hood, who's spent time in prison, you've grown up around it, not in Chicago, but here. Like, if I asked you what's the root cause of black on black crime, what answers would you be able to give? Like, because everyone still talks about the symptoms.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about the symptoms, whether it's the guns or blah, blah, or the white man or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's still because there's been infinite successes of black men and women that have come out that have chosen not to buy into victimhood culture. What is the root cause on black crime?
I would say the root cause is the real KKK. Now, people think the KKK are the knights with the white hood. The real KK is white liberals and the Democratic Party. The black Democrats and white liberals are the real KKK. If I was a KKK member, I would do everything that the Democrats and liberals do. I would say, if I want to get rid of black people, kill all your babies. Continue to kill each other with no consequence, you know, stay uneducated. Those are everything. The Klan would be jumping for joy. That's everything the Democrats want, you know, with the leniency. Kids know what they can get away with. Just look at this. Overnight, Trump sent the National Guards down to D.C. No murders.
Yeah, first time in 20 years, but that amount of time.
Why? Because the liberals, they know I can't get away with it now. There's a consequence. There's a Republican on my ass. But wait till he leave. When them liberals get back in there, let me get the gun loaded up. You know, I know from experience. If you're supposed to have the toughest gun laws, but you know the liberals want to keep the gun numbers down. And if I go shoot someone and I get it down to reckless driving, but continue.
No cast bail.
Yeah, and I don't have to come up with bail. There's no consequence. You know, they're not robbing banks. They know they'll go to jail for robbing a bank. I know when I got caught with my gun in 93, if they would have gave me a slap on the wrist, would have ran right back and got a gun. Yeah. I had a high-powered lawyer, Mark Eisenberg. He said, listen, I'll tell you right now, you get caught with another gun, mandatory 5 years. I won't touch a water gun. Couldn't bring a gun around me. Somebody let us go hunting. I could do a bow. I'm not touching a gun. I don't even want to hold a gun because the feds were not playing with me. And these kids know. They get their little fucking ankle bracelet on, and then they find out, oh, there was a murder down at on the south side of Chicago. They tracked his GPS. He's got the ankle bracelet on going to commit another murder because they're that lenient on them. You know? There's no consequences.
But I want to go a little further. I think you're right, but I think we're still circling symptoms, not root cause. Because I believe it all starts in the home. Because there could be, I don't know, we could say the Mexican race, Mexican Americans, different color skin, but yet they don't have the murder rate, crime rate that Black Americans have.
It doesn't start at home. It starts with a bigger scheme. It's a bigger scheme. It's a group of people who, I don't know for a fact, but to me, I'm looking at it like this. I feel there's a powerful group of people who intentionally say, if you edge these kids on to hate each other and you allow it, they're going to knock each other off. Just start with the music, the rap music. They allow that. Could you imagine if it was some white kids talking about, nigga, I'm going to kill you next time I catch you. I'm going to blow your mama brains out, stick my thing in her mouth. What if it was some white kids doing that? Well, you could barely write anything bad about either political party on the internet. They'll say, this doesn't look safe enough to be posting. They'll flag you right then and there. But then you can go turn on a rap video and they got guns in there and they're talking about killing each other. Could you imagine if somebody was talking about killing Jews or any other ethnic race group of people in their music? They would snatch that down right away. But the only music that you can threaten someone is hip hop music. That's the only music you can say, I'll kill you with a gun in the video.
So basically there's culturally, and from your perspective,
you're groomed to accept that.
There's a acceptance and basically like a deference to violence and other types of, basically a lack of civility.
Just like the murders. It doesn't matter to a Black person unless a white person does it. It doesn't matter. And that's because you're being groomed. You're being groomed, and it's intentionally being groomed. MSNBC, they don't want to see when some Black people, just all I say, flip the roles, reverse the roles, and watch the anger, reverse the roles. When people got beat up down in Cincinnati, downtown, if there was some white people beating down some Black people like that, it's a different story.
Or didn't the guy that got beaten, didn't he get arrested as part he got initially like a disorderly, right? Like they
let that go though. But it was that old. I don't know if they're older, 50 something. That kind of look like 60 something.
It's all in the eye of the beholder, and that's where people have come to. Murder and stuff. It's almost like what team you're rooting for now. It's all about what team you like. It doesn't matter unless it's the other team. It is sad. And a lot of people, murder is murder to me. I don't give a care who you are. I don't care who the school shooter is. I don't give a focus on white.
Focus on the facts and the conduct and not the membership of a group, right? I mean, it's what you're saying.
It's so out of control, though. Jason, just look at it like when the liberal news or the right wing started doing it first. They started cancel culture with you're unpatriotic if you don't support the Iraqi war, which was horrible. Tucker Carlson was the biggest leader of that charge. Oh, you're unpatriotic if you don't support this crazy Iraqi war. But he woke up. He got out of the matrix. He admitted he was wrong, but they do it all the time now. You can ask any liberal, okay, Donald Trump didn't do it. We don't have evidence, but they'll say, fry him anyway because I don't like him.
Right.
That's how the Klan looked at Black people. You have the same damn mentality as they have. I'm a firm believer. I can hate your guts, but if you didn't do a crime, I don't want to see you go suffer for a crime just because I don't like you. But liberals and, we probably got right-wing people who could do the same thing. Most of Americans have lost their moral compass because I don't like you because you're not on my team. Hang them just because I don't like them. I think that's a sad state of America.
Well, that's some real shit right there.
That's a sad state.
Because it's a reality.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, picking a team, forming that as your identity and hating another. I mean, that's why we're seeing so many people, liberals on TikTok and otherwise saying like, it's a sad day because I woke up today and he's still alive, referencing Trump.
That's sad.
Right? And that would be sad regardless of who you said that about.
Yes.
Right? Whether it's the president or your next door neighbor.
I don't care my worst enemy.
Disappointed that another fellow American citizen is still alive. It's a disgusting and an unhealthy way to live.
But a lot of people don't even know the wrongs that they do. A lot of people don't even know how depleted their moral compass is. Just take, for instance, like if you saw an old documentary and then your grandfather was in it and he got convicted in an all-white jury in Tupelo, Mississippi, and half of the jurors were from the Klan. No evidence at all. And they say they hung Tyrone Biggins or whatever, and he was totally innocent. As a black person, he'd be like, motherfucker, that was the dirtiest trial ever. And them same people can wake up and say, yeah, fry Donald Trump.
Right.
I don't give a fuck if he didn't.
Let's go, Letitia.
Yeah, let's get him. And there's no evidence there. You got the same mentality. But, it's cool when you do it, but it's a problem when they do it. You want to cry when it comes to you, but then you could turn around and inflict that same
hypocrisy of principles.
Wasn't Tyrone Biggins one of Chappelle's characters?
Yeah, but that's the only name. That's the only name I could come up with. He was a black Klansman, so I ain't had no other country names. So, shout out.
Whitfield. I thought I recognized that. No,
that was one of the best skits on that show.
No, it was Tyrone Bigsby, wasn't it?
Big something. Yeah,
could have been.
Either way, it was that. That was the lead-off episode.
No kidding.
Of the Chappelle Show.
Oh my God!
That was one of the first skits in the lead-off episode. The black-white supremacist.
Have this to make that skit. He had to have some huge cojones.
I still got all the Chappelle DVDs. That show was so good.
Something else.
It's kind of like South Park because he went after everyone. Yeah. Like, you remember the racial draft?
Yeah. Keep Tiger Woods. We want Tiger Woods. I want to take Jason Timberlake. That was crazy.
But he actually points out like a lot of times that you do in this podcast, like his comedy is really about exposing how ridiculous like being a hypocrite with your principles is. And he was just so clever.
A lot of stuff he said back then really hits home now. You're like, how genius was he? He was a genius. A lot of that stuff he talked about back then, you're like, huh? Then you were like, whoa. Like a lot of stuff, like trans stuff. He was on top of all of that stuff a long time ago.
He should sell that back to like Netflix or something, have them run it now. I mean, it would offend a ton of people, but a ton of people need to hear it, need to see it.
But I guess, back to what you were talking about, like culturally, I think it's all about teams, like you guys are pointing out. And the thing that, if we're going to talk about some hypocrisy, the thing that really bothers me the most is that there's this big public outcry over and over again for diversity, right? But it's always diversity on superficial nonsense like skin color or, gender or whatever. It's not diversity of ideas. I mean, if you're really going to accept diversity,
right there,
the real way to do that is to be accepting and civil to people you completely disagree with.
That's it right there.
And that's where you start breaking down the walls about us fighting with each other. And again, cigar people are good people. And how many times do you sit down with a cigar and it's somebody complete 180 from what you may believe, but you find some commonality, you're respectful.
Common ground. So I love what you just said there because it's so true. When I had my big financial firm, there was under the umbrella of a corporate 100 company, and they were pushing DEI in that time frame, and I'm for by and large, like I want to kind of match our community. That sounds good. That sounds like a great idea. Except what I discovered I discovered a lot of things, but here's one thing that touches on what you're just saying is all three of us, and let's say we get a female in here, let's see if we get an Indian person in here, we get a Chinese person in here. If we all think the same but look different, that actually doesn't change our complexion as a company.
100%.
That changes a superficial nature in the room, which is exactly
100%.
what you just said. What I need is people that think differently than me so that we can advance our cause.
Makes it better.
It does make it better.
Makes it better.
But that's what I'm saying is what Jason just said was brilliant because it's so spot on. Everyone's focused on the superficial thing like skin color, religion, gender, and sexual preferences instead of ideation. Do you think differently? Because what makes my team great now is that we have different strengths and weaknesses, and I hire to my weaknesses. Like Alicia is brilliant at organization and whole accountability and getting things done, where I'm brilliant at the visionary stuff, not organization, not accountability. I'm brilliant at coming up with the big ideas and moving things forward. Like that's what you need in a corporate room, in a business, in a society, is ideas, not necessarily the superficial things that everyone's focused on.
You have to be tolerant, accepting, and welcoming, not just of the superficial differences, but the ideological difference.
That's right.
And I think that's really what makes things stronger, clearly. But
yeah. I think I look back and I see, and this is not a conservative or a liberal thing, but I look back at like the greatest gift that was ever given to me by my 8th grade teacher. And I kind of look at liberals. They want to fish for you. They don't want to teach you how to fish.
right.
The great Ellen Roach. I was in these learning disability classes, not knowing I was the smartest kid in the whole school. But I look back and I always say, what if she wasn't hard on me? What if she took my homework and did it for me instead of keeping me after school and saying, I don't care if it take you 6 hours, get in there and do it. I come home crying, well, she racist. But what if she didn't do that?
Right.
I would have never become the person that I am. And that's the difference. Don't fish for me. Teach me how to fish. Give me some pointers, Ms. Roach. When I bring you that damn letter back and you highlighting it with the red ink and said, you misspelled that, Emanuel, and you didn't put a comma here and you didn't put a period here. You didn't do it for me. You taught me how to do that.
Well, you just hit on how liberals don't realize that they're racist.
Yeah.
You just hit it. Yeah. And so if there's any liberals that happen to catch this show, let me explain it and break it down for you. If I was Ellen Roach back in that day, a lovely white woman that chose to mentor a young black man, and I said, you know what?
Yeah.
You're oppressed. You, Emanuel, are oppressed just by your skin color. Mm-hmm. And so therefore, instead of me teaching you, I'm going to do it for you so that you can get ahead.
Exactly.
And so what liberals are doing and DEI is pushing is that you're too stupid. Mm-hmm. You're not enough. You're a victim. You need me, the white upper middle class savior mm-hmm. to get you by. And they don't realize their racism.
That's what I won, the GPA award.
Hey, show the cameras. Little E. Boom.
And that little roast and the low, I still remember Kirtan that. Smarter 2 kids in the school.
Pulled me out of a learning disability class. I was the smartest kid in the school. My mom, I came home with that. She's like, you got another athletic award? No, this is a GPA award. She's like, what? The whole entire school was like, Manual? Because they were judging me. They never tapped into that mind and see this piece of coal could be a diamond. They never looked into that. But Ms. Roche, she said, you're a shining star. And I paid her back because I stayed by her side to the day she died. And I had like a speech and I couldn't talk in front of people. And she was like, you have
those must have been the days.
Now he's down here making fun of Bobby Kennedy. And
but it just shows you never know what's inside until you take a look in there. And you have to believe in yourself, because I was like, I can't talk in front of people. And it was just God's work, because I went to her retirement party because I was her favorite student. And I just did a little speech. First time I ever spoke in front of anyone. And she was like, that's cool, Emanuel. And this professor, Nancy Carabrew, she was like, that was beautiful, because I cried. And I was like, I don't know why I'm crying, Miss Roach, but I said, I know why I'm crying. I have a daughter now, and she won't be taught by the greatest teacher ever. And they were like, oh, and so they invited me to this big teachers convention, to make a long story short. So there's thousands of her colleagues and teachers out there. And here you go, me barely got out of high school, and they got Harvard and Yale, and they were so boring. School, if you believe it, you can achieve it. They were just like robots. And this lady, she put so much pressure on me. She was like, I heard this young man speak at a retirement party. They say save the best for last. I didn't write anything down. I was this close to just running out of the building. I'm hyperventilating. And when I did my speech, it was magical. Headlined the Capital Times that day. Miss Roach got the paper that afternoon. And she was like, Emanuel, you are so great. You should be my PR. I was so wet behind the ears. I'm like, what's a PR? You know, I had no clue. They said Whitfield spoke briefly but eloquently. I was so naive back then. I'm like, what's eloquently? You know, I didn't know a lot back then, but it was God's work. And ever since then, I've been able to blah, 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 blah. But shout outs to Miss Roach. I will always love that woman. Yeah. Great.
But that's the thing there, is to close that gap, is a lot of liberal friends that I have big hearts. They don't realize the racism and the holding back that they're doing.
They don't know any better.
Because they sit there and watch CNN and are told. I had this thought the other morning. I was out on my ruck. I was like, because, you know, I got Facebook friends across the spectrum, but like, because you see them complain every day right now, and they'll post something. I'm like, imagine waking up, watching CNN or looking at your favorite news source like New York Times or whatever, and going, like, looking for something to be enraged about. Right. Imagine if that was your life.
Yeah.
Like, how fucking miserable would it be where if you got to wait for the news to tell you what you're going to be enraged about, get enraged about it, post on Facebook, and then your whole day is you being enraged about something Trump did or Republicans did or whoever did. Like, it's like, if that's your life, you got some major looking in the mirror to do.
I've just made this quote up, man. I just thought about this. And this is how I look at what liberals do. And a lot of people don't understand what they're doing. I'm talking about parents, just beyond liberals. This is conservative. I would just think about silver spoons tarnish over time. And I look at it, when you spoil a kid, they don't know how to go work. And spoil that kid, and they don't know how to go get it. And you don't know what you're creating a monster at the time. And a lot of liberals who think, oh, these poor kids, you're too harsh on them. Sometimes you need tough love. Sometimes you need to sit in a jail cell, you know?
So what you need is one consistent set of expectations and standards, regardless of your superficial category, but expect the best from all of your students.
Yeah.
I mean, because, you know, people will rise to expectations, but they also will hang down. If you have low expectations,
you're right about that.
They'll rise to those too.
And they will judge a book by its cover. Like, a lot of my teachers used to overlook me, and thank God Ms. Rose saw a shining star. So I see what you're saying. Gets to know these kids individually. Some kids need to be held back. Some kids need that extra help. Some kids do have learning disability, but you don't know that if you just go in and say, he looks the part, he looks the part, he looks the part.
Well, so this just reminded me. So when I was in law school, the professors, I was one of the students that was selected to help with the admissions program. And, you know, they knew I was from a very poor background, and there was a lot of, argument about affirmative action. You know, this is back in the 90s, dating myself there. But one of the things that we looked at was, you know, there were some people on the admissions committee were saying, well, you know, we don't have a quota, but we really need to increase the, you know, numbers of our black and brown students. And I remember sitting in the room with the professors in the committee and saying, why? Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, because we want to be more diverse. And I said, but you don't know what these people even want to do with their degree. You don't know how they think. Like, aren't you assuming that because of the color? I mean, this was a long time ago. Yeah. And I said, but they said, well, what would you suggest then? And I said, well, why don't we just take a look at creating the most socioeconomically diverse, you know, student, if you really want diversity, because, you know, having access to resources and not having access to resources probably defines more differences in your ideology than how much melatonin is in your skin.
So true.
And I mean, maybe that's a potential way to, if people are really serious about DEI because they want a variety of opinions and ideologies, let's talk about where you came from in terms of socioeconomic opportunity. I mean, Charlie Woods doesn't need an affirmative action quota to get into a college, right? Yeah. Tiger's going to write a letter and he's probably getting in. I mean, or make a donation or whatever.
But
Shit, he's probably getting in on a golf scholarship.
Or that too, yeah. But you know what I'm saying, right? It's like, why would you take it? It logically doesn't make sense to me.
So you made a great point there on that consistent set of rules, which you agreed with as well. So it's one of the things I teach in our EOS teaching because I'm working with leadership teams on a consistent basis. And there's a study done in the 70s called Parenting Effectiveness Techniques. Can't remember which school or fashion actually put out the study, but it basically came down to, you got to have a simple set of rules. You got to repeat yourself at least 7 times for them to hear it the first time. And you need to walk your talk. Yeah. You need to lead by action because they follow our actions more than our words. Now, they redid that study about 15 years ago, and guess how many times you got to repeat yourself now?
Probably 25 or something.
Close, 35.
Wow.
Just because of all the different dynamics of coming at us and distractions and the attention society that we're in. But that being said, the reason I teach that is because it's the same thing for our kids as it is for our employees. Is you got to become the chief repeating officer. You got to walk your talk, and just a handful of rules that everyone abides by. Mm-hmm. You're not changing it for different folks just because they look different or just because they're in a different position or just whatever. Like it's a handful of rules. You repeat yourself often. You walk your talk.
Yeah.
And that's something that any parent, any leader in an organization can grab onto and actually run with today. That's the playbook.
Yeah. We got a long way to go though. We've been so programmed by visualization, and we just never peel the wrappers off to see what's inside of the candy bar. You know, we look at stuff and we process it, from juries to students. Like, just imagine seeing a kid at Harvard. He got dreadlocks and tattoos all in his face. Then you got Poindexter with the tape on his little nerdy glasses. And they was like, who do you think the smartest kid is? That kid could be the smartest kid on campus, but you have to get to know him and you have to let him unravel and get to know what's inside instead of visualizing and saying, oh, Poindexter's got to be smart. Look how he's holding his books. You know, so I've been trying to learn that never judge a book by its cover. Like I tell you, when I was at your place one day, Jason, and I'm the only guy sitting out there. It was like me, Kevin, and a bartender early in the morning. I want to just hear my ear pods. I see this nerdy guy walking back and forth, and I'm over there like, please don't sit by me. I got one earbud in. Of course, can I sit by you? And deep down I said, I was like, damn it. I was like, come on, you can sit down. Best conversation I ever had. Freelance doctor from Kalamazoo, Michigan. Floor.
At his own plane. Yeah, you told us.
That was a great moment. And I'm looking forward to seeing him again. Mm-hmm. You know, so it just shows people, pump the brakes, man. Sit down. It could be a homeless guy. It could be anyone. You really have to get to know. It could be a cowboy, a rancher, a veteran. And that's the beauty of life. When you take time to get to know someone else, you never know what you can get back from that.
You got to get outside of your own head and off your own phone, right, in order to engage.
That's so funny. I think I told you this story a long time ago, but it goes to not judging a book by its cover. So my wife's from a very small country town. She moves up here, and this was, so we've been married 17 years. So this would have been like 15 years ago. But you haven't heard this story. So we're walking through the mall, and she sees kind of a ghetto-looking black guy walking towards us. And so she like hugs me tighter, and I'm like, what? She doing? She goes, she didn't say nothing right away. And I see Yokes walking up to me, and I was like, what's up, brother? I'm giving him a hug, and she relaxes, but like, she's from an all-white town, all country.
Picking him up.
She sees him walking towards us, and this in the West Town Mall. And so we've shared the story, but like, I was like, that's my guy. Like, yeah.
She was like, wow, you do know some tucks. Now, that was a beautiful moment, though. It shows people that, you know, never judge a book by its cover. Like, me and Jason had a talk, and I ended up meeting his college roommate. Just fascinating. Because, you know, Jason tell the story, man, I was the first one really much at the dorms with a black roommate and all of that. And then you meet Wes, and I'm like, fucking, this dude is so cool. And just their story. We'd have a whole
TR tonight.
Oh, tonight?
Yeah, you'll have to stop in.
Oh, I'll be there. Wes is so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's wrap this up. This has been a great conversation. We've been across the board. And, I mean, the bottom line thing, I think what we ended with, and not judging a book by its cover, treating people with kindness and respect, no matter what they look like, getting to know the person on the inside. I think that getting diversity of thought and ideation more than the superficial things is what all of us need to think about as a country. And I even said this in my book, like, judging, or talking about skin color or forming your identity around it is the lowest form of IQ.
Yeah.
Like you were born with it. You can't help it. It is what it is. Let's proceed through life and just be cool with whoever, especially ourselves, be cool with who you are, and then be cool with everyone around you. And the leadership in our country, the division, like, here's the deal. They're only able to divide us because we let them. Like, we got to realize that. Stop looking for CNN and New York Times telling you what to be enraged by today, and actually read between the lines, open your door, talk to your neighbors, go to the dang cigar bar. Tasting room's our favorite, so make sure you hit that up when you visit Madison, or if you're in Madison, and actually talk to people from, I mean, that was the whole context of starting this podcast with this episode, the Leadership in Review, is some of the best conversations, as Jason mentioned, happen in the cigar lounge, because it's people of all socioeconomic classes. It's people of all races, all religions, all genders. And we're cool with each other because we're bonding over something in common, which all of us have, something in common. We're humans, we're Americans, whatever you want to choose one. Anything to end on, boys?
Amen, brother.
I wanted to say, exteriors are all different colors, different skin colors, but you can't live without your interior, and everything interior inside of you are the same color. Your heart, vital organs, your brain, all the same color, no matter who you are. It's all the same color. So get past the mask. That's all I can say. Get past the mask.
I like it.
I like it as well. Well, you know what to do, Spartan. Share this episode far and wide, especially with one of your liberal friends. They'll appreciate hearing it. Remember, the good and great are the enemies of possible. Lead like a Spartan today.
Awesome show, fella. Goddamn, John.
This is Sparta!